Good evening, everybody, and thank you. So basically, what I'm going to do in the next, dinner was what, 1 hour? No? See, that would be a cardinal sin, right? I'm standing between you guys and drinks and dinner, right? So I realize that in the popularity chart, I'm not right up there. So we're going to just briefly encapsulate what we've discussed over the last 2 days, and there's been a lot of varied thoughts, a lot of discussions, and I think in some ways a little bit of a intellectual overload. But then when you go back over the next days, when you go back to where you came from, a lot of these conversations will come back, and key points of what people said and what you learned will remain. And that's really the key to all of these events, right? Now, these last 2 days, I know that there's going to be a whole proper thank yous that'll happen on Gala night, so we're not going to go in that territory. But we need to thank 2 people who kind of made sure that everything happened over the last 2 days. The first one is somebody who's been doing a thankless job, and that's Pedram. Pedram, please stand up. I've been sitting over there and I haven't seen him even take a bathroom break, so I don't know how he does that. And the second person is Armighty, who kind of became the ringmaster, the cheerleader, to make sure that things flowed in the way that they did. So thank you, Armighty. Though I have a feeling that if you start walking towards people now, I think they're going to think that you want them to stop talking. So maybe that's something that you'll have to live with. This idea of doing this gala in Toronto happened a while ago, and many of you will remember that in 2019 we had a similar situation where the last WZCC big event, global event like this happened in Orlando in America. And at that time too, it happened along with the Fazana AGM. And so this time when it was Toronto's turn, we said that, okay, if we are getting so many people together, which Fazana does every year, why not do it back to back? So you get a lot more people. And this was an idea that kind of Adel Dawer ran with. And we had to kind of make sure and twist a few arms and pull a few favors. And thank you, Bhumi Patel, for backing out from wanting to host this AGM and letting Toronto host it so that the AGM and the WZCC conclaves could happen together. And I would use that as a segue to welcome Fazana President Kayo Sidwa. Kayo, please stand up. And of course, I did mention Adel Dawer. I think Adel's on Zoom. He's going to be here in a couple of days. I was just thinking about it. I haven't been to any WZCC AGM when Adel was not around. So, we miss Adel. Hello on Zoom from everybody in the room, and we look forward to seeing you on Friday. So the first day we started, and it was not too long ago when Khushru was shooing everybody out from the breakfast room yesterday onto the buses, and that was just yesterday morning. We got here, and we had Percy Master, the global president of WZCC, lay out the roadmap of what WZCC wants to do in the years ahead, but also take stock of what it's done in the last year and before. A great initiative and a great welcome was having Benaz Nanavati from Pune, who's now the International Youth Director on the WZCC International Board, talk about what she wants to do to involve youth and young adults to take their rightful place on the table. And more power to Benaz in the years to come. And I think over the next few days, you'll get a lot of chance to interact, at least in North America, with the Zaina co-chairs and the Zaina youth. So that's a great opportunity for you. We then had our first keynote where we heard Firdos Kharas. Firdos spoke about 12 steps that have helped him in doing what he does. And what he does is the power of messaging. I think the power of messaging is brilliant in today's world, and what really stood out, at least for me, was the fact that he said that his videos and his animations and his message that he puts out to the world does not have his name, right? And it goes into the ether, and once it's out of his control, it's gone, and thousands and millions of people view it and benefit from it in ways that he will never know, right? On the one hand, you would wonder, like, I want to know about all of this, but it's so liberating that you're doing something and then it's out and it's helping other people all over the world. So I think that was a good takeaway for me from Firdausia's talk. And then we had the two Banus, as I would like to call it. We had Ma Banu and we had Zar Banu. And the conversation with the both of them, while as much as I would have loved for it to hear a little bit more from Ma Banu about her life too, what really came across is what a fascinating life you've had, Zar Banu. Your daredevil attitude in never taking no for an answer, but more importantly, not taking no because you want to do the right thing, is, I think, a Zartusti principle that you lived by. And myself and so many others have benefited from the fact that you actually walk the walk, right? So when you see a need for young people to meet the world over and discuss in the Zartusti faith, you open up your house to us, not once, not twice, multiple number of times. And I think if all of us continue to walk the walk, the world would be a much better place. So thank you, Zar Banu, and thank you, Mabanu. We then broke for lunch for a bit, and that was fantastic. And then we came back to hear Merwan, who spoke about the role of music and creativity in life. And I think he said something very important, that artists, creative people, is what keeps the world going, and we all agree to it. And I think what the line that really stuck to me was the power of live music. And to anybody who's ever gone to a concert, whether it's a Zubin Mehta Western classical concert, or it's U2 or Def Leppard or Pearl Jam or Beyonce or Taylor Swift or whatever floats your boat, right? You understand the power of music in its live form. And I think Merwan kind of reattested that. And it was interesting to hear his story and how music has played a big important part in his life. And then we had this very, very interesting panel, which on alternative careers and paths that people take. When we discussed this panel with Dilnawaz, in the planning stages, we weren't sure where this was going to go, but I think it was amazing. Arnavaz, who spoke about what she does at work, driving a 66-foot bus. Basically showed us that there is nothing that one cannot do in life, right? At whatever stage, I'm sure that, when she grew up in Bombay and she saw all of those BST buses going by, she would have never imagined that one day she would be driving something like that, double its length, right? In snow, which obviously we've never seen in Bombay. So Arnavaz, that was amazing. And your story about saving the life of this lady who was going to otherwise jump off the bridge, I think touched her really raw nerve. And you could kind of sense that the room all of a sudden went silent. So thank you for sharing that. Then we had Arash, who spoke about wine and happiness and creating this journey and curating an experience. And that led me to think that, most of the times when we think, and somebody really smart said it, I just can't remember his or her name, that we normally remember food not necessarily for what we're putting in our mouth and eating, but it is who we share it with. So food and wine really kind of becomes this excuse to meet with family, meet with friends, and I think Arash embodied that kind of spirit. And with Arshad, it's an interesting story. When Dilmas asked him, like, will you come and speak at the panel? He said, nothing doing, no, right? But when I asked him, he said, absolutely sure. Right? So, and then we had Del now, who spoke about, following her passion with chocolate right from the time she saw her mom do it. And while she was just sitting over here, you could make out that, like just looking at her and talking about chocolate, I was salivating sitting behind, and I haven't even tasted her chocolate. So I think that kind of passion in doing what you love to do and then making it a business and making money, that, you can't have it better than that. And then we had Xenia, who, as much as we didn't hear too much about what she does, I think she moderated the panel really well, and she brought out the best in all of the panelists. So thank you, Xenia, for doing that. And then the last panel of the day yesterday was the happiness panel, about happiness in one's life. And it was interesting to see, firstly, what happiness means. And I think in listening to Sam first and then the three other panelists afterwards, the thought kept on going in my mind, what does happiness mean? And every time I heard one of them, I started wondering, is my definition of happiness changing, right? And then it wasn't really changing. It was just showing me that there are so many different ways that we can all be happy, right? So with somebody like Sam, he spoke about being happy at work and being happy in life with a 50-year career. On the other hand, you had, Jivan, who said that he's happy and travel brings him happiness. Or Adil spoke about, being in minus 60 degrees weather and helping, pull somebody's tooth out and giving that person relief. That brings him happiness. To Merwan, who said that, however the client, whatever he wants, making the client happy so that he comes back and he stays a repeat client, brings him happiness. I think it's such an open-ended question. What is happiness and what does it mean to us all in our lives, right? And I think we can have a whole convention or whole Congress just on that topic, right? So we leave that for another day. But then and that brought us to the end of yesterday, and we had amazing dinner, and then we gathered back today morning. And the first session we had my dear friend Mickey Mehta, who, besides Mickey-mizing all of us, basically told us about the 10 commandments that he believes in wellness. And having heard Mickey over the years, I love the fact that unlike other people in that realm or in similar lines of work, he's never said that this is the only way, this is my way, right? I mean, he keeps it open-ended. And as he said, very rightly, there is no one formula for illness, because illness is very dependent on the person who gets it. And if you understand the person, then you understand the illness, and it's easier to treat. So I think that was a very, very unique way of looking at it. And if we kind of take that idea in all of our lives, we then understand why illnesses, why people fall ill. And what he said about, like, an angry person will probably have a certain kind of illness, an insecure person will have a certain kind of illness. I think that's so true. And that's a different way of looking at it. And maybe if we have those illnesses, maybe we can introspect as to why we are having that. So thank you, Mickey, for sharing that wisdom. And then we went to the entrepreneurship journey. And over here, it was a very, very interesting panel. I've heard Shanna speak last time at the conclave in UK, a couple of conclaves back. And I think she brought this she assembled this diverse group of people, but she brought a very interesting perspective on what each one of them were doing. And I think she brought out the best in each one of them. And I think that took a lot of research and a lot of kind of understanding what each one of them were doing. Phil, I never knew this story about you going down in that aircraft, but I remember this story very well, because in 1990 I was in India. I was in, I was just thinking maybe in the 12th standard, and this was big news in India. I never knew that there was a Zoroastrian couple in that plane who survived. but you didn't stop flying, both literally and figuratively in your career, in your work. So more power to you. I think that's a fascinating story, and you're using that opportunity to do amazing stuff over here at OZCF, which we will see tomorrow. So thank you for doing that. Hormuz, you brought us an interesting perspective on resilience in business, and in kind of taking the chance, going from Hyderabad to Australia, getting into a new industry, and now you're doing what we all want you to do, to keep us safe in some ways, right? So I mean, you're not a cop, but you're working, you're making systems that will keep us all safe in the world. And so, keep on doing what you're doing. So the next time, hopefully you'll have better systems for some of the stuff in North America, and more power to you on your business. And then Varun, who knows how to hustle, right? He was the youngest participant on this, and he found a way around it without breaking the rules. He knows how to bend the rules, and I think that's one of the keys to his success. And I've known Varun for only about a year, but his kind of passion and his hustle comes through, and it's amazing to see a young kid, 25-year-old, going out and doing what he's doing, and more power to him. And I know that he's on that cusp where he needs to raise a little bit of money to get the next level of funding, and I hope he kind of does that. Either on this trip over here or in the days to come. And then after Varun, after that session, we had Cyrus Mistry. And Cyrus Mistry basically explained artificial intelligence to us, so that now we are all intelligent people going back. No, there is no other way to put it, right? We've all heard of artificial intelligence. We've had, okay, I will go there. We had the Secretary of Education in a country that we shall not name keep on calling it A1. I don't know if you guys saw that clip. Yes, it actually did happen. Did you see that clip? She was calling it A1, right? She's like, all these high school kids are learning A1. And then there were a million memes on that, because A1 is a steak sauce in America, right? And what she was talking about was AI. So Cyrus, thank you for making sure that everybody who heard you will never ever make that mistake again. But I think the idea of using artificial intelligence, as Cyrus said, there is no way around it. You have to understand it and embrace it for your, for your advantage, not only as an individual, but as a community, society, country, right? And there were some valid questions where people said, sure, will people use it for wrong things? People are using it for wrong things. We had nuclear weapons. Nuclear energy was supposed to be good. We still have threat that, rogue nations will have it, but that doesn't stop us from using it for better reasons. So I think, AI is one of them, and we just got to trust that in the end, technology will do more good than bad. But so Cyrus, thank you kind of for elaborating that and making it a subject that we can all confidently talk about a little without sounding goofy. So. And then in the last, and then we had lunch, and then the last session was Elliot's session. And Elliot, you spoke beautifully about food insecurity and how it's such a big problem in the world. And I think what really stood out for me was you stating that it's not that we don't have enough food in the world. It's that we cannot reach that food to people who need it in the world. And you kept on saying this one word you used quite a lot. You spoke about how valuable trust was to you, right? Trust in your ethics, your reputation, and to a lot of Zoroastrians, especially those who grew up in the subcontinent, the Zoroastrian community is known for trust and is known for those values. So to hear that coming from you and how important it is to you just means that you're now an honorary Zoroastrian. However, our life membership is at a certain cost, and we have forms over there.
To be expected.
So thank you for sharing that idea, and I think it's beautiful that you're doing what you're doing without, you found an opportunity, and you cracked the problem, and you're now helping thousands of people. So thank you very much for sharing that. With that, then we heard that we heard the presentation on the TIS Parzol program. And the TIS Parzol program is very, very, it's an important milestone. And why is it an important milestone is because we have very few courses or study programs on Zoroastrianism in the world. The first and the foremost one is the one at SOAS, right? We now have our own Fezana professor at the University of Toronto, and one would have thought that there would be a program in India way more, way back, but this is the first university level program in India on the study of Zoroastrianism. So I think the program is very important. We are fortunate that through Fezana and Zagni in North America, we have been able to support this financially, doing our bit through the Professor K.D. Irani Trust. And, I mean, in conversations that I had with a few people afterwards, I think there is a need for having this catered more maybe towards a North American diaspora and stuff like that. So that's something that Shanaz Auntie would want to know. And then we came to the Tiger's Den, and we had this whole energy of people trying to do, big and small things, from the small ask of, $50,000 to $70,000 to $1.5 million. And I think it's just that maybe it didn't happen in this room, but it's, I am 100% sure that each one of them is going to do get what they want in the next 6 months or a year from now. So thank you for sharing all of these ideas with us. And that pretty much brings us to this point. And we still have 40 minutes to go, so I'm just going to keep on talking. No, I'm not.
The bar is open.
So the bar is open, and thank you for being an amazing audience. We now come to the end of the formal part of the 2 days, two-day event. The next 2 days are going to be Niagara Falls, fun, City of Toronto, CN Towers, and then we will all gather for the gala night. But there is a whole bunch of us who are going to be also busy with the Fezana AGM. For those of you who are new or who are coming from different parts of the world, the Federation of Zoroastrian Associations of North America meets once a year for a 2.5-day event, which is our annual general meeting. We have 27 member associations flying in from all over North America, committee chairs, and we discuss, deliberate, and plan for the next year. So if you're around and if you want to just hear what's happening, observers are, you can be an observer and an invitee, and come and sit in at the back and listen to deliberations. And if if they're not to your liking, then I'm sure there will be a bar around somewhere. So with that, thank you very much. You guys have been a great audience, and now let's go and drink.